Okay, so for zander fishing you've got 2 or 3 different rigs you can use. One of the more popular ones over here in Britain is using just a single hook, not a treble hook at all, just a single hook, and that hook is in fact barbless. This one in particular is crimped on there, so you can see it's loose. There's a big loop, big gap in the loop there, and just straight wire to another crimp swivel. And I just got there just a couple of BB shot, just so it just rests as lightly as possible, because it's a commercially fished venue, so it's therefore going to get a bit of attention. So that's just a standard hook, but because they can get a little bit picky, zander, especially when it gets colder, they will actually blow a bait out. Although they're a predator, they can feed quite sort of delicately, is the word, is just a hair rig. You can fish a half or a whole bait even on the hair, so it's separated from the hook there. Same length of trace, same swivel, everything else is exactly the same. And what you want to get is, if you can't catch your own, and most people can't when it's cold weather, is just go and buy some frozen stuff out of the tackle shop. These ones are roach, so roach are very, very good because they're one of the natural baits for zander, and don't get ones that are too big. You're not dealing with pike here. It's a much smaller fish and a smaller mouth, so just small roach like this. You can see there, these ones are iced. If you just snip the top of the packet and fill that with water, by the time you tackle up and you're ready, they should be thawed out. So for fishing one of these whole, and that's quite a big bait for a zander, probably 7 or 8 pound zander and upwards will take that, but in here they're 3 to 5 average, I would guess. So we're not looking to catch one exactly, I'm just going to show you different ways of rigging the bait. You can use just a nose hook one here with a hair rig. I'll show you what it goes like. So you get yourself your hair rig needle, and what I do is go through the bottom of the throat latch there, but I want to come out right through the centre, almost between the eyes there. As you can see, I'm going to turn it over, try and do this all in one for you. Going to be fiddly because it's cold, the fingers are cold. Put the hair loop over the end of the bait, if I can get it. There we go, just like this. You want to allow enough of a loop, you can actually make your own loops and make them longer if you wanted, and pull that back through. There we go, you can see it, there's the loop, and then I'm just going to put my little plastic hair stop in there. A little bit of a breeze coming up, and that's what I want, because it's been a frost last night, and that's never a good one for zander. So I'm going to put the hair stop just in there. I'm using a yellow one so you can see it. Going to slide it and pull it just like this until it rests in that throat latch, like that. And there you can see that's free swinging. You can actually twitch this for pike if you wanted. It's another way of twitching for pike, and that way the bait's clear. Now, all predators are going to take that bait head first. The reason for that being, scales this way, you normally are rough, smooth that way. So if you can imagine sliding that in your throat, you're going to want to go head first. If they go head first, as you can see here, the gap there is about 1 inch. That hook should be resting about there. So fingers crossed you don't get a throat hook fish. It does happen, but you can afford to strike quite quickly. And that's for a whole fish. You can do the same with a whole one, and even for a tail section, exactly the same thing. Now you can cut these with a knife, and unless the knife is very, very sharp, you won't get a good edge to it, and you want something neat. So I'm going to cut this about midway here with a pair of scissors. Watch your fingers. Okay. Now, as you can see there, a little bit of freezer burn on the tail there. It doesn't matter, because in there you've got the body cavity, so you've actually got a little bit of scent coming out from the edge of that. But what you can do is you can snip that tail off like that, and using your baiting needle just go through the back wrist of the tail, which is very strong, and once you've got your baiting needle through, onto the loop it goes. I'll turn it round for you, hopefully you see that. Slide it back through, keep that loop there, get your little plastic hair stop, which in the winter with cold fingers is not easy to get hold of. Just rest it there, and when you pull it tight, the loop goes through and the hair holds the bait nice and neat like that. And again, if the fish is taking it down that way first, it's fat end first, it's going down like this. You could leave it a little bit longer using the tail section because he's got to swallow it that way, and that way you get a jaw hook fish hopefully on the single hook there. Now a couple of little totally awesome tips here for zander fishing. You might want to try it. Right, for this one I've cut it really short, just back of the pectoral fin there, and I've got no hairy, just a standard hook, but I've gone through the throat latch here, out through the top of the nose. But my bonus here is a light stick. That's a chemical light stick. It's plastic with a glass vial inside, 2 different chemicals. You crack it, you mix those 2 chemicals together, and you get a light. And I've actually whipped that on using bait elastic. Right up by the swivel here, I've got my little BB shots there just for weight, but that is a bonus. Now you could put it right on the bait, but bear in mind zander are very nocturnal, they can see light, so I just wanted to be drawn here to this light here, but not be spooked by the bait. I want them to come to the light first, which I'm sure they'll see first, and then they can pick up this bait. So there's another little tip for you. It's a secret one. This is when you get, say, autumn leaves, when you get a lot of rubbish on the bottom and your bait might be sinking in there. You can actually pop it up, and the way you can do this is to cut the head off right behind the gills, and that leaves quite a big body cavity. This chap's still partly frozen, so I'm going to open him up a little bit like that. Okay, now I'm going to snip off the tail. Sometimes when you're casting, that will spin in the wind. Okay, now I've got my hair rig there. I've got the bait with the big body cavity. I'm going to take my baiting needle. I'm going to thread it right through a pop-up here. I'm trying to do all this in one if I can. I'm then going to go into the body cavity like that and just come out about ½ an inch into the body cavity. I'm going to put this in my mouth and wish I hadn't done that. Roach is lovely. There we go, onto the get on there. Onto the loop like that. Pull it through. Slide your pop up through. That's disgusting. How can zander eat that? Put on my bait stop. I've got my bait stop and pop up there, but you'll notice when I pull it, it just sort of nestles into that body cavity. In fact, I can actually bury it in there. Look. From the side, you won't see it. But what you might want to do is bring these, stick the hook in your finger first, is bring these shot to about here, say about 2-3 inches. Maybe you might want to swan trot a couple of BB. That way it gets either neutralised or it just floats gently above those leaves. So you can see the pop-ups hidden inside the bait. The hook is still clear to give you a good hook hold, and it's just resting there. And hopefully that could get your zander as well. One last tip, especially with this one. Don't be afraid to use one of the many additives on the market and just give that bait. You can see that there. This is my own Raptor oil, a good dunking in there. You can see that pop up in there as well. And just see what this does. You can use pilchard oil, cod liver oil, but I like to make my own from a secret recipe. I'll put this in the water and you'll be most impressed with what comes off. So if I just swing this out and lower it by that leaf, you should be able to see exactly how much oil comes off that, and that bait is barely sinking. As you can see, it's what you would call sort of neutral density. Now if I lower it, it's just going to rest on top of the leaves, but also if I get those scissors and I want to make it absolutely popped up, I just cut a bit more bait off, and you'll see that it should. There we go guys, it's floating on the surface. So there you go guys, you've got some tips there on rigging up for zander, dead baiting with roach, 2 or 3 different ways, popped up, half baits on the bottom, static on the bottom, keep it light, and probably I would strike as soon as that bobbing goes up. It was then that I realised the heron was actually watching and looking for any fish that might be damaged or dying left over from this fishing match, because obviously the anglers there, it's a big competition. Generally there's what they call pools or cash winnings, if you like, involved in there, so it's very, very competitive. Who can catch the biggest net of fish in a set period of time? They're weighed out, kept in a keep net. For those who don't know, they keep them in a sort of holding net, and then they weigh them and then they just tip them back, perhaps slightly unceremoniously there, but that's the way they do it in the matches. Weigh the fish, and whoever catches the heaviest weight of the fish generally gets the pool money. I had to wait exactly for the moon to rise. Basically, other anglers were coming in, they were looking to get home. I was actually looking to start fishing, because with Zander fishing, low light conditions are what you are all about, and ideally not just low light, pitch black dark, and you never know what you're going to catch when that moon comes up. Fish on, guys. I was filming the moon. Can you believe it? Wasn't even watching. There we go, people. It is indeed a PB, my smallest Zander ever. Well, at least it shows you the rig works. It might only be a small Zander, but it is the right species. And there I was, filming the moon. Next thing I know, bobbin's way up on the top and the beeper's going. Let's get it back, and I might still get lucky yet with a big one. I'm on again, guys. This feels a much better fish this time. This one's digging. That's why I rigged those baits up like I did. There we go, guys. The hook just falls out, as you can see there. Really super Zander this time. What about that one? That is what I'm fishing for. Got a bit of a bump on the top of his back there. Cracking fish. Really pleased with that. Then all he's going to go, he might go 8 pounds, we call him 7, 8 pounds, something like that. And that's what it's about. Get out there, get some of those tips, and try and get fishing as long as you can into the evenings. Use the totally awesome tips and get yourself a nice Zander.